name is Jedida. My name is Jedida, and like I said, it's an absolute pleasure and a joy to have all of you here once again, being part of this very important conversation of mental health. So mental health speaks to the health of our mind. We always, busy, concerned, and more invested in our outer appearance, in what people see and deem as healthy. But today we're having a conversation on mental health, the thing that people don't get to see, but eventually it comes out. And so, like I said, it's wonderful to have you. We are pro positive innovators. We are a group of people that believe in positivity. In a world where you're given constant reasons not to be positive, we believe that it is possible to find a light. It is possible to heal. It is possible to be strong again. It is possible to find love again. It is possible to live again. And so that's who we are, pro positive. And so welcome everybody. Today we have our wonderful guest, Monene, and she's gonna be speaking to us personal experience and journey audience today.
I'm so sorry, Jadida, you were cutting right at the end. We were not able to get, I think Telcom, Escom is just fighting everything. I apologize everybody for that.
So sorry, guys. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, please just give me a moment. I think let me also just switch to my mobile data, just to kind of, I don't know if it will make a difference, but let me just perhaps have that on in case of anything. But yes, I was asking our guest to kindly introduce herself to our audience today.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Monene Mathiba. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a finance and public health specialist. I'm very, very pro health and wellness, promote my own health and my own wellness. And I'm very much passionate about helping others in any way that I can, whether it be through advice. Even at work, I very much like, training people and, on the job training, giving people training, that kind of thing is where I really enjoy spending my time. So I think in short, that's who I am. And I'm very honored to be here, to be talking about my journey with mental health, my experience, my lived experience with mental health. And I'm hoping that as we talk, some of the things that are shared can be of help to somebody and enlighten somebody. Maybe they are going through something, or maybe they know somebody else that's going through something, and they can maybe pick up one or two things that maybe be able to help the next person.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely amazing. I love that, you didn't hesitate to speak into what you love doing, and that's serving and helping people. I just had to point that out because it's literally piggybacking off of the conversation we had last week about purpose and how everything we go for a reason and for a purpose.
Definitely. Hi. Yes, you cut off a little bit, but I think the gist of what you were saying was about how everything that we do, everything that we're interested in, somehow links to our purpose. And I definitely agree with that. Hello, Jedidah.
We apologize, everybody. I don't know. I think Jedidah had network
Think
issue.
there is here. I think let's do this.
Okay, all right. Sorry, everybody. We apologize for that. So we are not going to waste any time. Looking at the time, it is 6:10. So what we would like to do is to just give you a moment because mental health affects all of us, and as mental health affects everybody, so we would like to just get right into it so that Monene can share with us your journey, what keeps you positive, and what keeps you going on a daily basis. Because remember, it is a daily struggle for everybody. And as much as it is a daily struggle for everybody, we need to practice. And that's what we learn from these sessions. So before I just hand over to my host, so we will just give you the minute to just share with us your story, and then my host will take over. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Thabisa. Okay, so the way that I thought that I would share my story, it's in two ways. So one way is firstly by I wanted to be able to just explain the difference between anxiety and depression. Because for me, with my journey, so what I've found in many conversations is that anxiety and depression are spoken about as one thing. You often hear people saying people are suffering from anxiety and depression, or depression and anxiety. And for me, I've always felt like those are two totally different things, at least for me and how I've experienced them. Those are completely different things. You can have the one and not the other, or you could have both. And my journey with mental health has been or is about anxiety. And that is something that I live with on a daily basis. It's something that I work through and struggle with on a daily basis. And for me, I am in this very moment, I am not depressed, but I know I do have anxiety. So I just wanted to make that distinction, because I know sometimes people talk about it as if it's the same thing, and sometimes people do not identify with both, but may identify with one of the two at a given point in time. So so just to give a little bit, anxiety is, so you have your occasional anxiety, which is what everybody goes through. Like, you're going for an interview, you are you've put in a proposal for this big project that you're waiting for, or you've entered a pageant and you're waiting to be selected. Maybe you might feel, that nervousness that you feel. That is also anxiety, but it's known as occasional anxiety. And obviously that one, it comes and it goes. But you also have what is called generalized anxiety, which is what is there on a daily basis with you. It's something that does not go away, but you're constantly worrying about something. If I can give an example, like you'd be, obviously everybody can be worried about their finances. You're worrying about a test, you're worrying about, you went for blood tests, you're waiting for results, you're nervous about that. But a person who has generalized anxiety, you're even worrying about, you walk down the street and somebody looked at you, and now you're worrying about why that person looked at you. It's, you're thinking, is it because my skirt was too short? Is it because I don't look okay? Is it because, now you're worrying about just that glance that somebody gave you. You're worrying about even going to your boss and asking them, can I take leave? You're already playing out in your head how that conversation is going to go. I mean, as much as you are entitled to leave, but just going there and asking for leave creates anxiety. What else? I mean, there's so many situations where you worry, that small thing in your mind becomes such a big thing that you will take it might take you 2 days to go and ask for leave, just because your mind has made it such a big thing. For somebody else, it's you just get up and you go, oh, hey, so-and-so, may I please have leave? But for somebody that struggles with anxiety, it might be something that your mind has created a fear, that thing now for you to be worried about going to ask for leave. Now you're thinking, what will she say? How will I answer? It's like literally your mind makes a mountain out of a molehill. And it's with so many different things that can play out. You even just maybe going to tell somebody that, oh, I didn't like what you said. You will take days before you even go there, because you are just thinking of the confrontation and how it's going to play out, and you're thinking, I don't have the energy for all of that. So in most cases, you end up not even going there to talk to that person. You just rather than withdraw, because just thinking about it creates such anxiousness in you that you just rather leave it alone, because you're thinking, if I just leave it alone, then at least I'm at peace, because your heart rate is up, your mind is just, that's all your mind is thinking about. And I mean, it sounds minor, right? Like but it can occupy you for like 3 days. And that is what generalized anxiety is where anything and small things will just spin your mind into such an anxiousness that you're not able to do anything else. So with me, and anxiety, normally it starts at an early age, right? It's like often kids that are shy, it develops there. I'm not saying all shy kids become, get the generalized anxiety, but that's where it starts, because kids that are shy, in class, you ask questions and the shy kid does not answer. It's, everybody else puts their hands up and answers, and that child is afraid to put their hand up. And the pressure that creates for that child, it grows. And because now they cannot even verbalize it, it just becomes something that they get used to keep quiet in class. Don't raise your hand, because what if you get it wrong? Over time, as you grow, it just grows with you. If it's not addressed, if you don't find tools to help that shy child. So for me, I was that shy child, as in primary school. I was always, my teachers would always say to my parents, she is so quiet, and I would know the answers. Like they could see it in the test that this child knows all the answers, but I would not put up my hand, because my mind had created that thing of, what if you get it wrong, you know? And that sort of grew with me, to the point where even in the work environment, I mean, probably about now, I'll say maybe 10 years ago, at work, I was on a project where I was working on something, and for some reason, so I'm an accountant, so I was busy trying to balance the books for one of our clients, and it was just not happening. I could not get the books to balance, and instead of asking for help, every day I just continued to try and balance this thing, to the point where I was I was sleeping like 2 hours.
Sure.
Getting home, I would leave the office maybe at 9 or 10 at night. I would get home, then I would sleep a little bit, wake up at midnight, start again, trying to balance these things. Come 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I would stop, I would bath, take my stuff, go to work. So, and then continue. So I think over a period of 2-3 weeks, I was doing this because I was afraid to even ask for help, to say, listen, can somebody just, take a look here, maybe you can see something. But even that was, my mind had created this thing of, no, you must do it yourself, because if you ask for help, what will people think of you? People will think you're not competent. And it just created this fear in my mind that I had to resolve it myself. I couldn't ask for help. So I mean, I lost so much weight because I couldn't. I was not sleeping. I was not eating well. And it was occupied. Even when I was sleeping, I was thinking about it. Like, I would catch myself half awake thinking about it. Then I would try and force myself to get back to sleep. Then I would sleep. Then eventually I would give up on the sleep and just get up and try again. To the point where it actually created depression. Because I was not sleeping. I was constantly worried about this one thing. To the point where, and I mean, the funny thing when I reflect back on it is that people at work could see that I was losing weight. They could see I was not okay, but nobody asked me. Nobody asked me what's going on. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't say anything. People would, I was when people greeted me or spoke to me, I was the same sort of bubbly person on the outside, right? So nobody could tell that I'm going through this thing. And to the point where one day I just broke down and I said to myself, I have to tell someone. Then I actually found the courage to go and speak to, one of the directors. I told them, listen, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm close to breaking point. And luckily for me, that man understood. And immediately he called HR and he told them, listen, she needs to get off that job now. She needs to go, she needs to be booked off, she needs to go see a doctor, and she needs to go and recover. Because he could see, that I was not okay. I was not myself. But and it's all because of the anxiety. All because of the anxiety that lives in me. And it's a real struggle. It's and I can see it even in my son. You sometimes like during COVID, when they used to go to school and they had to like take temperatures and scan them and all of that. You would find like whoever was there to take down all the temperature and stuff would ask him questions. Immediately he would just shut down. He wouldn't speak. He wouldn't. And you could, and I mean, this is a person who at home he's loud, he's running everywhere with the cousins, he's running everywhere, but in the school environment he's very quiet. Even now at school, the teachers say he's so quiet. He's so it's something that I'm recognizing in him, and and I've had to learn to be patient with him and not be like, why don't you answer when the teachers speak to you? Because I'm recognizing that it is anxiety that's making him withdraw, and it's important that we recognize these things in our kids and not just say, you must speak when your teacher's speaking to you. Obviously you need to observe your child for a little bit and try and understand what is the reason why maybe your child doesn't speak at school or is very quiet, or because it could be that the child does have that anxiety within them. And if we don't help them with that anxiety while they're still small, it just builds to the point where it becomes part of who they are. And I believe that if we help our kids to manage that when they are small, obviously if it's in some cases anxiety is brought on by a specific event, it's hereditary, it's over time it becomes a disorder that you sort of acquired because you could not address the shyness or whatever happened while you were younger. So it's really I mean, it can be very debilitating, you know, and especially as you go into the work environment where you are expected to perform, you're expected to do presentations, you're expected to do all these things. And if you haven't learned how to deal with that anxiety, it becomes, I mean, I can tell you when I have to do presentations, it's like I'm going to speak to the president. I become so I become so nervous. I become so, you know, to the point where I'm like I would rather fake illness rather than go.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
it's you get to a point where you would rather avoid the situation that makes you anxious rather than be in it because of the emotional turmoil that it causes within you, you know. So I think for me it has been a long road, and I think the other thing is that I did not know that that is what I had until maybe 2-3 years ago. And I mean, I'm in my 40s now, so you can imagine I've been living with it
for quite some time,
for years, you know. And like I'm saying, from primary school, I've always been described as shy, quiet, you know, and all of that. And I think over time then it's just manifested itself in different ways. But it's just always been you know, you just sort of brush it off as, oh, she's a shy person. That's how she is. And you just don't do anything about it because you don't know that it's actually a disorder what you have. So it's only, I think, in maybe 3-4 years ago when I would okay, maybe 5-6 years ago, I would tell my husband to say, I'm so nervous. You know, I mean, to the point where, like, if I was having a presentation the next morning, the night before, I would, like, in the middle of the night, I would wake up, start having panic attacks.
Sure.
And then he would, you know, then eventually he said to me, no, but this is not normal. You know, this is not normal. You need to see someone. You need to get help so that you're able to, you know, to be able to cope with these feelings when they come. So it's only then when I started to actually go and see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You know, I don't know the difference between the two, but to seek professional help. That is, so that is when I actually realized that, okay, I do suffer from an anxiety disorder, and I've had to then learn how to manage it over time, because you know, I mean, my therapist did give me the option to say, okay, if you want, we can put you on medication so that it calms you down. And I said to her, I don't want medication, you know, and it's nothing against medication and nothing against anybody who may be taking medication, because I understand that, I mean, this it's a lot. So for some people, if medication is what helps, then, you know, then I fully support that. But for me, I did not want to rely on medication because I knew this anxiety lives with me daily, you know, and I don't want to be, I want to be able to manage. I want to have tools and techniques that will, because in some instances, the anxiety is brought on by something, like, for example, if I'm going for a presentation, then all of a sudden I become overly anxious. So I want to be able to, in those moments, be able to have tools that at least calm me down, you know. So I've had to learn breathing techniques. I've had to learn just to, you know, to to pray, through it, to sing or to listen to gospel music through it, just to get me to that level where I feel like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. I won't die. I can do it.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for the vulnerability and the openness, to show the side of your life. Like I said in the beginning, mental health is such a behind the curtain thing that people are more invested in what you see here, but they never get to see what's behind the curtain. And so for you to open up to us regarding, what happens behind the curtain, I commend you, and we are so grateful for that. One thing that I did just want to ask, I mean, I was going to ask, how do you cope? What are some of the things that you do? But you did point out that, breathing techniques, praying, listening to gospel, and so on and so forth are things that, you have learned to incorporate to help you cope with the anxiety. What I do want to know is how, after you have had a moment of anxiety, right? How do you find the strength to come back to yourself again? Because I can just imagine what this could do to somebody's self-esteem. And so how do you find strength to build yourself up even after that? Because I think in most cases, mental, health and mental illness, which are two different things, but just being, deemed as something is malfunctioning in me, can be a point where you constantly beat yourself on that to say, why can't I just get through it? So how do you find the confidence again to say, look, it happened, but we have to keep going?
Okay, so thanks for that. So before I answer your question, I just wanted to just say, in terms of the coping mechanisms, I think there are many different, ways that someone can use to cope with anxiety. Obviously the breathing, and I mean, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It can be just the breathing in slowly, breathing out, and that's what I've learned to do from my husband. That's what he always helps me with. Just breathe in and then stop, breathe out, like slowly breathe in, breathe out, and also just talking through it. If you have a safe person to just talk you through that moment of feeling nervous, feeling extremely anxious, feeling, if you have somebody that you trust, that you can call, and, they won't be like, oh, here she comes again, or, they understand where you are and how in those instances you feel the way that you feel. Talking helps. There are people that understand, that can help. And reading something or having listening to certain types of podcasts can also help. Like I said, for me, reading the Bible or Bible verses, I always, if I'm feeling extremely under the weather or feeling very down and whatever, I just search Bible verses, and then I just read. I just listen to certain songs, gospel songs, that I know whenever I listen to them, it just takes me to a different place. And then it just helps me to just come back to a point where I can manage. It doesn't always take the anxiety completely away, but it takes me to a point where I feel I am in control again. I can still feel the anxiety on the inside. As I would step onto, say, a platform to do my presentation, I would still feel nervous inside, but I've managed to get myself calm enough to be able to speak coherently, to be able to, get across what I need to. And this also links to the question that you're asking me now, because for me, the funny thing is this, that once I've gotten myself to that point of feeling like I'm in control again of my mind, and particularly where I have to, say, speak in front of people or give a presentation or whatever at work. You know how many people have told me they've actually never noticed that I was anxious.
Wow.
They have, so it just comes back to what anxiety does.
Mm,
It makes your
mm,
mind make a big thing out of something that
mm.
so what I do normally, I overly prepare because
Okay.
anxiety is telling me I have something to be afraid of, right?
Mm, mm,
So my mind is telling me I have something to be afraid of. So to counteract that, I prepare
mm,
so that I feel, okay, I've prepared enough. And I
mm,
think, and I sort of simulate questions. Okay, maybe they'll ask this, maybe they'll ask this. And I kind of like prepare answers and so forth. And when
yeah.
I walk in feeling like, okay, I think I can manage.
Mm,
Um, and therefore people don't see, it's like, like when a duck is floating on the water,
and the
you see
waters.
this graceful gliding, right? But
Mm,
underneath it's paddling
mm,
furiously.
mm, mm,
And it's really like that because I get myself to a point where I'm calm on the outside and
mm,
I'm able to sort of keep my voice um to the level where you cannot really detect that I'm
yeah.
nervous, but
Yeah.
inside I know that I'm
I'm
working
handling
hard
hard.
to, yes, I'm
Yes.
working
Yes.
hard to keep this
Mm,
this
mm,
look of being okay.
mm,
And so most of the time afterwards, I'm like, phew, it's a sigh of relief. But
mm,
in many instances, I afterwards realized I had nothing to be afraid of. Um,
yeah.
so in other words, so coming back to the point that my mind had made it much bigger than what it
Mm,
was.
mm,
Um, and it happens a lot with many things where, maybe I've done something, my boss has reviewed it, and maybe my boss will call me in and say, okay, no, I wanted to chat to you about your submission or your report and so forth.
mm,
I'll be
mm,
thinking the worst.
yeah.
I'll be thinking the worst in terms of, okay, maybe she didn't like it at all. Maybe she wants me to start over. Maybe she wants me to,
Mm,
whatever, all those things. Then I get there and it's such minor things, but I would
mm,
have spent time worrying. My mind would have been spinning, um,
mm,
just thinking about what is it that she found that she was not happy with.
mm,
Whereas you get there and the changes, maybe it's 10 minutes max, I'm done.
yeah.
um and the same thing was when I did my master's dissertation. I mean, the night when the feedback came in from my supervisor, I saw
Mm,
the email come in,
mm,
and immediately I could not sleep for the rest of the night.
sure.
I did not open the email. I did not,
Mm,
because I was so afraid of what
what
would,
it would say. Yeah.
what would, yes, what maybe she would not be happy with how I wrote things, the analysis, the everything. I could not sleep. In the
Mm,
morning when I woke up and I finally convinced myself to say, okay, just you're gonna have to look at it anyway at some point, because you're gonna
mm,
have to correct, you're gonna have to send it back so you can graduate. So you're gonna
mm,
have to look at it anyway. So I convinced myself, okay, you know, just take courage, go and have a look and see what she wants you to do. And I'm
mm,
telling you now, when I say, I think it took me an hour to
mm,
do everything that she wanted me
mm,
to fix. An hour. And I sent
mm.
it back. I got 73% for my
Wow.
dissertation. I mean, that's almost
Wow.
cum laude, but the
Mm,
way I was so afraid,
sure.
I didn't even sleep. That is the level of anxiety that
Yeah.
I deal with,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, so I've had to find ways for me to be, what is it? Uh, there's a word I was looking for, but I've had to find ways for me to be functional,
Mm,
um, because of the way my anxiety affects me if I let
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It can completely affect my performance if I
Mm-hmm.
allow it to. And when I take control of it, I can actually see the way that I perform, you know, and I actually see that actually I have nothing to be worried about.
To be
But
afraid of,
it's,
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And to me, when you're saying, and you're sharing, this part of the conversation, I'm reflecting, on my own life. I cannot say that, of course, I share the same level of anxiety as you do, but some level of anxiety has been experienced at some point in my life, which is, comes together with fear of, oh my gosh, am I gonna make it? Can I do this? Am I capable? Why am I even here? I think for me, the thing that I definitely encountered was imposter syndrome. The whole idea of you're not supposed to be here, but from your share, to me, it's more of a testimony. And I'm gonna say this. I'm just going to take reference to the Bible, where when the children of Israel had crossed on the other side of the Red Sea, they were instructed to raise an altar, which was basically to stack stones on top of each other. And they were told to say, every time you would come, past this point, you would be reminded of what had happened at the Red Sea. And for me, what she's saying is literally that it's being able to create memories or points in your life where you're like, wait, that happened. I was that scared. But actually, now that I think of it, I didn't have to be that scared because I am capable. I am able. Yes, this is how I'm feeling right now. But in this moment, I'm going to choose to reflect on what my past experience has been, that I didn't die. I didn't fail. Yes, I had to make changes. Yes, it wasn't, 100%, but I made it through. And I think sometimes in life, each one of us can relate to that, where you're literally like, I I didn't have to be that afraid. Actually, I am capable. Actually, when people look at me, like you said, in my head, I'm convinced what I'm saying is not making sense. But the moment people encounter you, they're like, wow, actually what you had to say was so profound. I didn't think of it in that way. And so I think moments of fear and anxiety, we take power from them when we're able to look back and say, actually, no, I get what the mind was telling me and what the fear was telling me and the anxiety was telling me, but actually, no. I am good at what I do. I am exceptional. I know I am here for a reason. If I wasn't capable, I wouldn't be, where I am right now. And so with that being said, we are going to continue the conversation, but I just want to get everybody involved into, in what we've been discussing and what you have shed light on. And so quickly, I'm just going to do a bit of a roll call to acknowledge the people that have joined us today. I see we have Nova, we have Uzandile Fuzile, we have Mr. Odendo, we have Linda, and of course, we have our wonderful guest, and we have Utabisa joining us on the other side of the Pro Positive. And so I do want to open the conversation to everybody else to say, what have been some of the moments, because I think it's important that we reflect. It's important that we see moments where it could have gone any other way. But now that I look back, I'm like, wow, I actually did that. I actually overcame. I'm actually capable and I'm able to. And so I want to open the chat to everybody. And I want people to share a moment in their life, where they thought that, this is it, I'm not gonna make it, they're gonna give me bad news, because of the fear and perhaps levels of anxiety that were experienced. I see Otabisa from our Pro Positive page has her hand up, and so I'm gonna allow Otabisa to quickly unmute her mic. Tabisa, for a minute or less, please do share your view or your personal experience with that.
Thank you so much, host, for the opportunity. Thank you so much, Monene, for sharing your personal journey. Like it actually, I look at you right now, and I also I don't see I don't know, maybe if I see a woman that has achieved so much, but yet when you speak, I don't hear it in your voice in terms of achievement and all that you have done. It's something that I have been struggling with, because you get introduced into rooms and into spaces, and now we actually don't give ourselves permission to say we belong here, we can do this, we deserve this. Sometimes it's because of where we come from. Maybe I was raised out of poverty, maybe I was so abused, maybe they told me I will never amount to anything. But the transition to say I deserve this. Yes, I am this, but I am in the right place right now. Yes, I've been through that, but I don't know, how do we then transition as Black people, as women, to say, you know what, we deserve it. Everything that we have right now, do we then reflect and say we deserve it? It has been a struggle for me. I am not going to lie. You find that you're introduced into rooms and you're sitting with people that maybe you feel like they are not in your level, or maybe with people who feel like you are able to do this, but maybe because of what you think of yourself, then you start putting yourself in that corner that I don't think I can be able to manage this account. I don't think I am the one to go and do this presentation. I don't think when do we give ourselves permission like that? I don't know if it's a question or a contribution, but I feel like it has been a struggle for me as Tabisa to say, actually, I deserve this. Actually, I am in the right place. Because the minute I step into that room and I see everybody, I immediately feel like, no, I don't fit. I immediately feel like I can't start the conversation. And immediately when I start, because I talk too much, but when I start the conversation, I go back and be like, did I say the right things? Um, what if it sounds so, it's Cape or whatever, like you always beat yourself with these things. So we always relate. Yes, we're very different, but we relate so much because somehow we have the same anxiety. So that was like more of a question, just to put it out there to everybody, to say, do we then give ourselves permission to say, as much as God has given us dreams and as much as God has redeemed us from certain places, when do we give ourselves permission to start flourishing and become exactly what God wants us to be? Like, I just want to put it out there. Thank you so much, JD.
Thank you so much, Tabisa, for that. And just, perhaps to just, bring the question, to us all is basically or rather, how do you give yourself permission to be happy where you are, to say, look, I have put in the work. You deserve to be in the spaces. You are worthy of these spaces. How do you get yourself there? And I'll give that to our guest. Perhaps, she can give an answer to that, to say, how do you quiet down the noise of it all, to be like, look, you meant to be here.
Thanks very much for the question. And Tabisa, you are quite correct. I think a lot of times you walk into a room and you see people, and to you, it seems as if those people are accomplished or more accomplished. Those people are more qualified in terms of maybe content or knowledge, or some of them maybe have years of experience under their belt. And you walk in and you feel like, what is it that I'm going to add here? But in truth, you would not be there in that room. As much as somebody else might have years upon years of more experience than you. The reason you're in the room is for a reason. And a lot of times we don't give ourselves that credit to say, I was appointed in this position for a reason. I was given this project because somebody saw something in me. I was given the responsibility for this presentation because somebody believes that when I talk, people hear something, people listen, there is something in the way that you speak or in the way that you are that made you be the one for that position. And sometimes our own self-doubt gets in the way. We get, our own feelings um, uh, of not being good enough gets in the way. And I think if you're a person that suffers from mental health, especially, that feeling can be even worse, because now you're now your mind creates so much worry about, will I say the right thing? Will I say it in the right way? Will my presentation look pretty enough? Maybe you're comparing it to other people's presentations. Some people have animations and all sorts of things, and they have these crisp and pretty looking slide decks, and you're thinking about yours and you're like, yo, I have none of that. And some people speak with such poise and such and you really start thinking, sure, maybe I don't belong here, because maybe you speak with an accent, maybe but in all honesty, once it's all said and done, I mean, sometimes we are lucky enough that you get those people who actually come up to you afterwards and they tell you, that was amazing. Oh, wow. I took so much out from your presentation. And it would really be so great if people could actually when if somebody has done a great presentation, it would be so great if people actually got the feedback, because sometimes you don't realize what that feedback does for the next person. It just builds them up in a way that they actually now realize, actually what I was worried about was nothing, because here I presented exactly what I prepared, and people actually loved it. Then it just gives you the confidence to know that next time what I prepare is good enough. It doesn't have to look like Monene's presentation. It doesn't have to look like Linda's presentation. It doesn't have to look like Zandile's presentation. But the way in which I do my presentation allows me to be able to present what I need to present in a way that I can speak to it freely. And actually, what really matters is the message that you're there to present on. So certainly for me, I think, like I said, what I do, obviously, with my anxiety, I get myself to a level where I feel that the anxiety is to a level that I can manage it, because then that's when my best is able to come out. That's when I can sort of drown out the negativeness that is in my mind, that I can just suppress it and just say, yes, I'm feeling afraid, yes, I'm feeling whatever, but I'm going to do it anyway. So it's that whole thing of doing it afraid. And for me, it's a daily reality that I have to do it afraid, because I have no other choice. If the presentation, if my name is next to a certain agenda item, there's nothing else I can do. It's there. So I need to find a way to get through it. So I have to do it afraid. And that's just it. You just have to, once you realize I don't have any other choice, I have no escape, I must do it, then you just find ways, the things that will work for you, that will make you calm, that will just, if it means taking some calming tablets, then so be it. If it means praying before you walk in, do it. If it means speaking to somebody who, do what you need to do that works for you, to just get you to that level where you can just walk in and kind of drown it out. And it's almost like sometimes you just gotta say, if I die, I die. You walk in, you do it.
And that's so true, literally, because as you were responding, I was reflecting also on one of your quotes, which is literally, do it afraid. And of course, I saw what the quote was, and I had no context, behind what the quote means to you. But now, knowing your story and knowing your journey, it makes sense to be like, hey, it's not because I'm just out here being like, yes, let's go do this. It's because literally I am afraid. Like in this moment, I am literally afraid, but hey, I gotta show up and I have to do what I need to do. And so I'm just gonna call on one or two people to just share as well. We are reflecting, guys, and we are speaking on what was a moment in your life. What is a point in time that you can remember and say, wait, I was afraid at some point, and I thought I wouldn't make it, or I didn't think it would work out. But thank God that I did it afraid, and here I am to tell the story. And so I see we have Uzandile. I'll kindly ask Zandile, if you are able to, please do unmute your mic for us and just share for less than a minute an experience where you genuinely, the fear was creeping in, the anxiety was perhaps, at another level, but you're so glad that you did it, that you stepped up and you stepped into, what that space was that you needed to step into, and the response was amazing. Zandile, if you're available, please do unmute your mic for us.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I am very glad I have made the decision to join in and listen to this conversation. It is very informative. I'm reflecting really like Monene was talking, and I'm like, she's talking about me. And I'm even like, maybe I haven't went through to what she did to find out and know what is she dealing with. So I'm very glad I had to listen to. So yeah, they are actually most of the moments I have that, and that fear that will even stop me from doing it. I would literally stop in many things. It's worse if it's something that I have to volunteer doing it. I'll only, like Monene is saying, if I die, I die. I will say if I die, I die to things that are directly coming to me. But the one that you say volunteer for, I'm still struggling. I'm like, I can't. So I think I am, from this conversation, I'm having that says I need to put myself out there so that if it's something that I need to deal with, I need to deal with. So yeah, there are things that I do, like at my work, like I was listening to Monene. I would go for presentations and they will end up good than I thought. And I would also think about it a lot. Like she was saying, I really want to follow up on what she was talking about on myself, because I really feel like she's just talking about me. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for these conversations. I think, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks.
for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. And that's the whole point of these conversations. It's not just to have an hour of us just talking, but it's, being able to bring each other to a point where you're reflecting and you're checking in on yourself. You're checking, is this anxiety that I experience every now and then, or is it continuous? And if it is continuous, there are solutions rather, that you can make use of and you can seek out, to get to a place where you can manage and you can cope. And so we are so happy to hear, Zandile, that this conversation was worthwhile, and so we are glad to have you here. I see Dicke Lady does have her hand up. Dix, please do unmute your mic and let's hear what you have to say.
Good evening, everyone. I'm busy trying to maneuver my way around this thing. I don't even know if my hand is up. I did not even find the unmute button, but I'm glad that you can actually. When I came on around the time that when Monene was basically finishing up. I'm on the road. I did not get the whole context of what she was sharing, but I got that she's talking about anxiety. But here's the thing about anxiety. Anxiety, it's a form of stress. It is worry. And what is it that you're worrying about exactly? You're worrying about external factors, about other people, how they perceive you. And how you calm yourself around that is, coming to the realization that you are being fearful. And fear has a way of showing itself as this bad thing. And that's why, you only think of the negative stuff to say, should I do it? People not, clap for me, or my message is not going to be I'm intending to send it out, or my work is not going to be good enough. What are you worrying about? About other people, things that you cannot control. What you can control is bringing to the table. And that's one way of calming yourself down, just accepting that this is what I can do, and how someone else receives it, it is out of my hands. You know, I
mm,
I'm here right now, I'm available. Let me do it afraid. Let me show up for myself.
mm,
And if people love it, they love it. If they don't love it, well, that is on them. Because I mean, we
mm.
all love different. We're not going to be liking the same thing. You know, I might listen to you singing and I don't enjoy your voice, and someone else is sitting there saying, are the best singer in the world. You know, like
Mm.
there's people like Beyonce, and I'm not a fan of Beyonce, and they'll be like, you know, there was a time where people were actually shocked that I don't even know Rihanna. Like, how do you not know Rihanna? But everyone's gonna love you, and not everyone is gonna accept you for who you are.
Mm,
How you control your anxiety, you know, by
mm,
knowing that I can control this. Let me work on what I can control. Whatever
mm.
that is out of my control, let it be.
Yeah.
Breathing exercise helps. Like if, for instance, you gotta go on stage, touch your heart, drink water, just breathe in and out, or you know, imagine people naked, whatever it is to calm yourself down, but just you know, deliver the message the way that you want to deliver it, and how people,
Mm.
well, that is on there. Remember that you put in the work. Like you know, when you
Yeah.
worry about that thing she was worrying about her dissertation, you are working on it and you critique yourself. You know, so stop critiquing yourself and do your best. Focus on what it is that you are doing and be happy
Mm.
with it and be content, and then send it out there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you so much for giving me the time.
Thank you so much for your contribution to this conversation, Dika Lady. We appreciate it. And literally what you're saying, I will borrow from both, what Utabisa had brought up earlier to say, how do I get to a point where I'm like, I'm meant to be here? Like when do I give myself permission to fully thrive in what this moment is for me as a person? And also our guest was also just speaking into how it's uniquely you get what I mean? Your presentation is you, and that's all you can ever bring to the table. It's who you are, and no one can ever do it like you. And so we are at 2 minutes past 7. We are at the end of our session, but look, I also just want to share just to what Utabisa was saying. For me, guys, being able to be on this, in this session in front of you guys, asking all these questions and being part of the of the conversation rather, is also a moment for me to reflect and say, you actually are capable of doing what you do, and nobody does it as well as you, not from a place of being cocky or a place of being proud, but for me, this conversation has also been a moment for me to be like, wow, I get to speak to such amazing people who are doing such dynamic things, people I never would have even known in my entire life. And so for me, such opportunities are not, I do not take lightly, and are not, something that is just by the way. And that's why I constantly have nerves, and I'm constantly, nervous about getting into these conversations, because I know the power associated to these conversations. And so from the conversation, I do it afraid every Thursday. Every time I'm in front of you guys, I'm doing it afraid, but I walk away with so much, and I'm so glad that I get to do this. And so I will give our wonderful guest her 1 minute to just, close for us. What do you want us to walk away with from this conversation, Monene? If anything, what do you want us to walk away from this conversation and say, wow, this is what Monene had to say?
Okay. Thanks very much. So I think in closing, I think the one thing that I really want to I want people to walk away with is that when and I think for me it's really important that in our kids that we learn how to see these potential signs. We sort of work with our kids and just to try and understand, I mean, it might not be anxiety, it might not be, but if we are not shouting at our kids and saying, no, you must do this, why aren't you doing this? But actually try and understand why they didn't respond or whatever, make them feel calm, make them feel like it's okay if you didn't answer the teacher, but I just need to understand why, what was happening, were you afraid, what, you know what I mean? Because it, to instill a confidence in a child while they're still young is powerful. It's very, very powerful. Then in, you know, as they grow older, they will have less of these feelings of imposter, feeling like they don't belong, feeling like they don't deserve to be here, because we need to be able to assure them when they are young. You need to tell them you're doing great, you know, you worked hard, you tried very hard, even when you can see that, you know, I mean, they, if, I mean, I remember we would say to him, okay, you must remember when you get to school, when the teacher asks you, you must answer. Then he will say, okay. Then you get to school and the teacher asks, immediately he freezes. Then you just tap him and remind him, okay, remember I said, you know, when the teacher asks, then he will speak, but he will speak softly. But the next time he speaks a bit louder. So it just builds that thing of, you can do it. You know, when you get home, you're like, well done. Today you spoke to the teacher. I mean, it sounds very, very basic. Nah? It sounds basic, but it actually, it's, you can see the improvement over time, that he realizes I have nothing to be afraid of. Because it's like even Dikeled was saying, it's you're worried about external things, but it's your mind that makes you worried. So as soon as, so even with kids, we need to be able to give them those tools. You need to find age appropriate ways of giving them the tools to say, you don't, you know, even if you're feeling nervous or stressed, or, you know, when the teacher's asking you something, just breathe. I mean, we've had to teach him how to breathe, how to just take a moment and breathe and just be, and then you say, you can do it, you can answer. Remember your teacher said you're good at math. Remember your teacher said you're good at this. So just breathe, you can do it. So it's extremely important, especially for children. But also if as an adult, you know, I mean, like Uzandi was saying, if you identify with this, it's a good, it's never too late. It's never too late to go and seek help and seek tools, if you don't have any, just to help you, just to manage life. Because, you know, whether you go through anxiety or anything else, life is to be enjoyed. And even with the anxiety, life can still be enjoyed. Like, I mean, I'm still enjoying my life. I mean, I entered a pageant, I'm doing things, on the outside it looks like I'm, you know, carefree and whatever, but I'm doing things afraid. Even posting on Instagram is anxiety inducing, but I'm doing it. So you just have to, you don't allow the anxiety or the depression or the whatever to rob you of living your life. You can find ways to manage, you know, you can find the help you need so that you can be able to still enjoy life. I think that is the main thing that I wanted to share. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. And you're right, man. Let's remind our children that their superpower is them. Them, just the way they are, is what makes them amazing. And so, thank you so much once again for taking out the time to have this conversation with us. We appreciate you and what you are doing for us and what this conversation has done for us. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate you. And we hope that you have a wonderful evening. And we will see you next week. So have a wonderful night, Linda. Have a wonderful night, Dike Lady, and be safe as you travel. Have a wonderful night, Nova and Zandile. We love you all. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.